I wanted to be clear that our board did not reject the whole proposal, and there was not a tentative agreement in place. The bargaining teams were working on a package settlement proposal for the last 24 hours. Our PPS bargaining teams brought a conceptual proposal to the 3 board members at the bargaining table for our consideration. There were many positive parts of the proposal that addressed planning time, COLA, health and safety, and mental health supports. Now, while there were many things that in the proposal that we could agree on, there was also some fundamental issues, specifically around parents having the ability to make educational decisions about other people's children that we could not agree on. This is what needs to be worked out, and we were expecting to work through those concerns today in order to get our kids back to school on the 27th. I want to be explicitly clear that this is the core obstacle to arriving at a conceptual agreement. We're going to take a couple questions. Board Member Brim Edwards is going to answer some questions.
What was this fundamental issue that you just flagged something that was a problem? What was that problem?
So, you want me to take it?
Yeah, go ahead.
So there was a committee that was set up, and from the school district's perspective, we were interested in having that committee operate at the school level if there were parents on it. And the way it was constructed is it could have had parents making decisions about other people's children. So for example, if you had a child who was on an IEP or had a mental health issue, that potentially other parents might have access to that information. And so the board felt very strongly that we wanted to, if parents were going to be involved, which we're all parents and we want parents to be involved, but we wanted to up-level it to the school level, not to the classroom level. We're talking about, say, for example, in November, if a student moved into a neighborhood and the class they were moving into was a 3rd grade class and it was at the maximum size, that there would be a process about whether that student would be allowed to join that class because they would be at the cap. And so this class size committee would be looking at various remedies, and it could range anything from adding an educational assistant, adding a teacher, creating a blend, or adding the child to the class, which would put them over the cap. And the concern was it might be parents might have access then to information about a student that would make them either want them to be in that class or maybe not, just depending on the current class composition. And we're just not comfortable with parents making decisions for other people's children, and really feel that's a responsibility of the principal, and the committee would be the principal, another administrator, and 2 teachers, which we feel that's the right level of decision making.
Parents having access to student information, is that legal under federal law?
Well, there's definitely privacy concerns, and just speaking as a parent, there are things about my children that I think are very private to our family and to the individual student, and I think most parents feel that and would feel comfortable with educators having that information because they do already, but not having it spread maybe across the parent community. So again, we feel definitely there's a role for parents in the broader school level decision making around class sizes. We know parents care about that, and we're all parents. We want to have lower class sizes. But we also think the people making the decision should be the educators and the principal or the school administrators. I'm not sure, because my understanding is that both sides needed to take the package back to their teams. So we were sitting maybe 50 feet apart, but in a separate room. And so when they reached a point where we think this could be something we should take back and talk to the board members here, so that we couldn't have a quorum, so there were only 3 board members here, and we talked about the package, and we talked about our concern about three separate pieces. One was the parents having classroom level decision making on other people's kids. The second was the reentry plan. We feel very strongly that students should have all their instructional days made up as another part of ending the strike. And the third was It was a really big financial package. It's $171 million over 3 years, 6.25 COLA in the first year, then 4% in the next year, and then 3% in the third year. So, very large package, which will also require us to make about $120 million in cuts. So it was a very robust discussion, and we really appreciate the superintendent. There's a lot of things that PAT was interested in around health and safety, around planning time, around health and safety in the buildings. And so we feel like they got a lot of things, and they also got a very significant COLA. And on the flip side, the district has some things that were priorities, and we feel as superintendent and the other people at the bargaining table for PPS did a really good job. But there were still some outstanding issues that we wanted to talk about. We feel a deal is very close still.
Julia, has there been an update on the threshold proposals? On Friday, the two sides were very apart in those formulas that they proposed.
Are you talking about the overages?
Yes.
I believe the overages. We went back to the current status.
Okay, so that's no longer a consideration.
It wasn't an issue that had been resolved.
Okay.
Again, we have a limited pot of money, and we are going to have to make some cuts. And so the conversation with the Portland Association of Teachers of what was most valuable to them, and for them, the message we got was a very large COLA in the first year, which we put most of our resources into that.
And then have there been additional conversations with the state over the weekend?
The state's been very clear they're not going to be providing any additional resources.
When you say a deal is closed, does that mean that it's going to be done by the end of the day, or done by tomorrow, or done by the end of the week?
Okay.
It's going to be potentially back to class.
Absolutely. We know parents are really concerned. We know teachers want to get back in the classroom. We're on our 28th hour of being up and working and being in this building. So we feel like we're very, very close. And we feel like it's a good deal. Actually, we feel it's a good deal for teachers, parents, and students. And we desperately want kids back in their classroom. We know they want to get back in their classrooms. We know teachers want them to back in. So we feel like we can close the gap. We're hoping to close the gap.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks.
Back to the business.
We're going back to work.
Julia? Just to clarify,
I don't want to wreck it.
Thank you.